or the live?
Well, we're live right now. All right, so we'll see how this starts rolling with our new technology here. And let me just double check. It should be on BBI's live. I'm going to do a watch party out to mine. So while we wait on some folks to start coming in, I'll just take a look and see what this looks like from this perspective. All right, so welcome folks, as you come on in. We're trying to get this shared out to people, and then we'll be getting started here in just a minute for our Black Dollar Saturday presentation with Jonathan McMillan. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
What up, y'all?
Because we're also streaming from two places. So this is it doesn't tell me where we're streaming from, or it doesn't tell me where the live feed is coming in from. So again, we'll just have to a little bit play this by ear. Sorry guys, we're using a new technology. So I do see us live on CTN. So what's up, CTN? I haven't seen y'all in a minute. I haven't been live on YouTube in a smooth minute. But I want to say hey to everyone out there. And so, hey. All right. So I think also, I don't know if this shows like the live comments. Up there they go. I'm starting to see live come in. All right. What is up, y'all? I haven't seen y'all in a minute on YouTube. All right, so I got YouTube going, and I'm just gonna also get Facebook going. So I apologize, y'all. We are literally using a new system. This is our first time using StreamYard to go live. So we're just getting this together, and for whatever reason, my Facebook is acting real slow, but we'll get this going here in just a minute. So welcome. This is Black Dollar Saturday. As you all know, we are virtual right now for all the reasons, right? But we're virtual. We host a live Black Dollar Saturday every third Saturday of the month. Normally we are at Brother Jeff's on Welton, Brother Jeff's Cultural Center. So shout out to all the small businesses that normally are popped up there and are doing business. So again, I'm just going to share this out, but while I do that, I'm going to also go ahead and introduce my guy here, Jonathan McMillan, who is so many things, a friend, a colleague, a co-facilitator, a co-program developer, just an amazing man all the way around. So what's up, Jonathan? Look, Jonathan.
What's going on, Jice? I appreciate that. I need you to talk to my wife, let her know all those things.
all those things. So, like Jonathan always has this running joke that I never take any pictures with him. Like, so, you know, he's like, I don't even know if we really know each other. We know each other. So, I'm
going to screenshot this for real.
Right. That's okay. You know, just so you have proof. So then now we don't even have to, you know, talk about it no more. Now you'll know. So yes. So we do Black Dollar Saturday for those of you who are joining us all over. Normally we just stream on Facebook, but because of this new platform, so we got on a new platform and we're able to now stream to both Facebook and to YouTube. So I'm excited to be back onto YouTube. And let you all know about some things that will be coming up. I'm going to save most of my announcements to the end. I'm really going to let Jonathan just kind of jump in here because we've been doing Black Dollar Saturday monthly workshops for over a year. So I think some of y'all who have been here, y'all already know what's up. So in the meantime, in between time, though, I do want to encourage everyone to sign up for the Black Capital Workshop. We are going to talk next Saturday about capital inside of capital inside the Black community, why it's important, how we obtain it, and some of those things. So what's up, Nails and Glitter? Hey, girl. I got your text message. I'm so sorry. When I tell you how life has been, you'll be like, okay. But hey, girl. All right. So I just want to go ahead and again I'm gonna just pretty much go ahead and get started. Tori says that it's buffering. Are you able to see? I'm not seeing any gaps on my end. Okay, cool beans. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and what do you mean no audio? Hold on a second. Nope, I hear audio, so I don't know. You gotta turn your speakers up. I got my phone right here. I hear audio. Okay, so go ahead and try and turn that on. Hopefully you can connect with us, Tori. I'm sorry that we're having technical issues. But yeah, so all right, so I just wanted to go ahead and get started and let Jonathan tag in. I really just wanted to drop in about the Black Capital event. Y'all go and make sure that you check out the Black Capital and get signed up for that. It is free. This is actually the first year that we've done it for free. So this is the 5th year that we have talked about accessing capital inside of our community. But we have some amazing sponsors. We are sponsored this year by Trailhead Institute, and we are also sponsored this year by First Bank, and we are also sponsored this year by Metro Deep. So because of these organizations coming together, we are able to put this out for free for everyone. So you can go ahead and get registered for this event, and let's talk about accessing capital inside of our community. Also, I'm doing this event in conjunction with By the Block. So By the Block and I are going to be the primary presenters with a funder panel as we dig into capital inside of our communities and why this is necessary and why it's important. So please spread the word, let people know it is for free. We want to definitely thank our sponsors for that. And Jonathan, I'm going to pretty much turn it over to you. I'm going to back all the way out. I'm going to let you introduce what we are talking about. And you just let me know when you want me to bring your screen on.
That sounds good. All right. What's going on, good people? I am so happy and excited to be here with you today. Jice, thank you for the opportunity to just be able, my intent today is just to give people a little bit of inspiration and hopefully a lot of hope that even though we're going through a really confusing and chaotic time throughout the world, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to lose hope. There's a lot that can go on right now, and a lot of stuff that we actually have control over in our lives. And the main thing of that is our success. It's our mindset and the resulting success that comes from that mindset. So with that being said, I'm going to do my best to try to share my screen here. I don't know why it's not sharing. Let's try this one more time.
No, go ahead and share it back, and then I can pull it up on the screen.
All right, there we go.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Jice. So the name of this presentation is The Next Best Move, How to Thrive During the Time of Confusion and Chaos. And the whole purpose of, again, is just try to help people find what it's going to take in order to move from where they are now to where they want to be. My name is Jonathan McMillan. I call myself a success strategist. So that is a title that I created of my own volition, and it's because I have studied the last several years of success strategies. Just to give you a little background about myself, about 20 years ago, well, actually about 22 years ago now, I ended up going to prison at the age of 25. And I learned very quickly that that was not where I wanted to live the rest of my life. That's not the lifestyle that I want to live. And I realized that everything that I knew up to that point led to where I was. And so I needed to learn some new things and new skills in order to get to where I wanted to be. And so I studied. I picked up a book called Think and Grow Rich, which led me down a path of personal development and essentially self-discovery, learning a lot of different skills. And then I realized that if I was so ignorant of these skills, then probably a lot of other people are too. And so I've spent the better part of the last 15 years or so doing presentations like this, helping people, particularly young people, particularly young people of color, particularly even more so young Black men, learn the skills that it takes in order to be successful. And that success could be whatever it looks like. A few years ago, I started a company called Be Better Than Average, which is all about success strategy, consultation, youth violence prevention strategy, community development. I work with Jice as a partner in program development so that we can better expand opportunities, services, and a knowledge set for our people to be able to start and grow businesses. And then just recently, I started a podcast called the Blackflix Podcast, which if you learn nothing else from this presentation, understand that even though we're on quarantine and the states and cities are starting to open up a little bit more, that idle time doesn't have to be useless time. That you can you can always look at where you're at and look at where you want to be and just figure out the steps in between. So just very quickly, the Blackflix Podcast is a podcast that I've been doing for about a month and a half, simply because I had a lot of time on my hands. I love watching movies, and I wanted to figure out a way that I can use my skills of watching movies and critiquing movies. And I picked up a new skill, learning how to podcast. And anyway, so that's that. I have written a book called I Am Better Than Average. I've actually written 2 books, but this is the one that I promote the most because it's all about mindset. It's 101 affirmations, all about how to build and live a better than average life. Every single affirmation starts with I am better than average, because the phrase I am is the foundation for anything that you achieve or don't achieve. Because if you say I am, you are literally pulling in the energy that directs your path. And whatever you fill in that blank in, I am blank, that is going to set the course for where you're headed. If you say I am a winner, you're going to do things, you're going to think in ways, you're going to have the habits of a person who wins. If you think I am a loser, everything's the opposite. You're not going to be able to thrive in that manner. Really quickly here. So with that being said, I want you to know, and I want to remind you, again, if you don't pull anything out of here, I'm going to be going through a lot of these slides relatively quickly because I have a lot of information, but I've tried to truncate it down into the information that I think would be most valuable and things that you could just pull away and take some quick notes and say, okay, let me see how I could apply this to my life now. And with that being said, I want you to know, and I will remind you over and over, you have the right and the ability to change your current conditions and circumstances, period, point blank, full stop. You have the right and the ability to change your current conditions and circumstances. And there's nothing, there's no if, there's no but, there's no qualification of this. It is absolutely within your right and your ability to do this. What we're going to do really quickly is go through some of the things and skills that you'll need to do in order to access your ability and take hold of that right to change your current conditions and circumstances. And the very first piece is going to be grateful. Not just grateful, but be intentionally and powerfully and deliberately grateful for every single thing, person, circumstance, challenge, obstacle, blessing that comes into your life. Very quickly, I share with you several years ago when I first started my company, I was going through even before I started Be Better Than Average, I was going through an incredibly difficult time. I had been accused of a crime that I did not commit. My wife was about 6 months pregnant. Police came to my door, arrested me, and felt like the end of the world for me. I had started to build a legacy for myself. I had started to really develop my reputation, and I got accused of this crime that I didn't commit, and it felt like everything was being ripped from me. And I was in this deep, deep depression. And my wife said, you could keep walking around in this depression with your head down, or you could just really look at everything and everyone who has your back right now, who believes in you and who wants you to succeed. And when she said that, I started to realize there was so much more in my life that I was taking for granted. And so I really decided, like, let me be very intentional about looking at all the things that I have to be grateful for. And while it sounds like some hocus pocus, some magical thinking, the more I concentrated and focused on everything I had to be grateful for, even the bad things, and with the lessons and the strength that those things taught me, the more things increased for me to be grateful. And long story short, here we are about 9 years later. I have a relatively successful business. I have a very healthy family. And while challenges still do exist in my life, I'm going through the challenges of coronavirus and COVID-19 like everyone else. I'm still in a place where I know that I can change. I have the right and the ability to change my current circumstances and situations. And it's working every day. So yes, if there is a magic phrase that I would like for you to take notice of, is to be grateful. Again, not just grateful, but powerfully, deliberately, and very intentionally grateful. The next step is to stay calm. And this may seem very difficult, especially when it feels like the world is falling in on you. But in an emotional state, especially in an emotional state that is full of fear, anger, resentment, self-pity. But again, I'll go back to fear, because fear is a huge one, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. When you're in a fearful state, your mind, literally, your conscious, creative mind, your critical mind shuts down, because you start to only look at what can I control, or not even what can I control, but what am I not in control of. I could go on and on and on about this, but I won't. Just it's very important for you to be able to manage your emotions, to be very aware of your emotions, and be able to find and develop the skill to stay calm in trying situations, in uncertain situations. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice that I can give in this particular session. And there's several apps, there's several books about meditation, mindfulness, being present, and all of those techniques and practices will help you slow down your mind and the overthinking and the fear and the overwhelm and the angst that you start to feel in situations where you're out of control. And when you start to realize what you do control, and again, what you do control is your next best step. So what you do next. Like I said, I want to mention, talk about I was going to talk about your fears. And so after being grateful, after learning how to stay calm in practicing that skill of staying calm, I want you to learn how to identify your fears. And especially right now in this time of chaos and confusion, a lot of us are scareful and fearful of a lot of things that we don't even know why we're feeling this way. I read a very interesting article, and I've had conversations with Jice and some other people about just how there's certain messaging that's going out and being repeated in, whether it's on social media, on your conventional media like the television, local news, the newspaper, radio, podcast. We're starting to be inundated, and the media, the messaging is starting to be oversaturated with messages of fear. And when you start to hear that over and over and over and over, your mind begins to be programmed to react in a fearful manner. Again, when you're reacting in a fearful manner, it's almost like a trauma response. And not to go too much into the neuroscience of this, but when your body is tense, confused, scared, angry, again, that lymphatic system shuts down, and you start to react in one of three ways. You fight, flight, or freeze. And if you are scared, many times, and especially if you don't know what you're scared of, that fight, flight, freeze reaction is going to kick in, and you're not going to be thinking critically. You're not going to be thinking very consciously about what you need to do next. Imagine this. It's like watching a scary movie, and you know, as you're watching the character walk into a dark room, and you know that there's something in that dark room, but you don't know what it is, and you don't know when that character is going to be scared. That tension that rises up. Imagine walking around like that all of the time. That's what many of us are doing right now because we keep hearing this repetitive message about we're all in this together, stay safe. So X amount of deaths happened today, X amount of people were infected today, testing isn't available. All of these things will keep you hearing these things over and over and over. They're keeping you in a state of emotion and a state of mind where you're not able to react towards the things that you really need to react to. So once you start to identify what you're really scared of, then you're going to be able to actually address those things specifically with the plan of action. So let's go through just some of the typical fears. These first three that I posted out here, loss of love, old age, and death. Now, I posted these ones out very specifically because there's nothing you can do about them. They are completely out of your control. You cannot change anything. You're going to lose love at some point in your life. I'm sorry, but it happens. Whether it's the death of a family member that you're close to, whether it's the breakup of a person who you're just madly in love with, whether it's a friendship that goes sour, it happens, and it's part of the life experience that you're going to lose somebody at some point. And it sucks. Yes, it does. But it happens. Old age. Hopefully you will get older. Now, it's not necessarily the fear of getting older. A lot of times people fear getting older and not having the financial resources that they'll need in order to take care of themselves when they get to an age where they're no longer able to work. And that's actually something that you can do something about. And that's why, again, it's very important to identify specifically what are you scared of, right? And it's not necessarily old age. I want to live to a ripe old life. I don't want to die. Nobody wants to die young. Which takes us to the next one, death. If you're alive right now, at some point you're going to die. There is nothing you can do about it. So what I say to these three, loss of love, old age, and death, is stop fearing them. Prepare for them, yes, but stop fearing them. You cannot stop that train. Now, these are the top three that top three of some of the things that people are really fearful of. And I want to dig down into some of the other ones that people spend a lot of time being afraid of. And these things are absolutely things that you can be able to change. These are what I call the top 7. Most people are afraid of leaving their comfort zone. Most people are afraid of change. Actually, let me preface this a bit. Most people don't start doing what they need to do to change their condition and change their circumstances and to build the life that they really want and pursue the dreams that they've had for themselves, because these are the things that they're fearful of, and they stop them from acting on what they need to do. Again, leaving their comfort zone. We all have this comfort zone of things of where we like to be. And sometimes, I'll be very honest with you, a lot of times we are miserable within that comfort zone. We're living lives where we don't make the money. We have jobs where we don't make the money that we feel like we deserve. We hate the work that we're doing. We may be in relationships that we actually absolutely hate. We may be less healthy than what we would ideally be. Because of the lack of exercise and bad eating habits. We have less money because of bad spending habits. We never have enough time because of bad habits around time management or self-management, excuse me. And we're okay with that. Like, we look at how much we weigh and we look at the job we have and we hate the apartment we live in. But to improve any of those things takes a little bit of work, and it may be very uncomfortable. It will be uncomfortable. Change, just plain and simple, change is a very difficult thing to face proudly. But if you start to manage the changes that you're going to face and that you're facing without any input on it, change can be a very beautiful thing because it can move you from a situation where you didn't even realize how bad it was into a better situation. Or if it's a situation where it's going bad, you have to look at the opportunities that that change may bring to you in that moment. Again, I'm going to bring up coronavirus and COVID and everything that's changing right now in the landscape of the world, of the economy. A lot of people are really tripping out because they've lost their jobs. They don't know what they're going to do next. And if you just take a step back and look at what businesses are thriving right now, it's the gig economy. So is there something that's interesting to you that you can now begin maybe a new side hustle, a new stream of income, even a new profession or starting a new business? There's a lot of things that change can bring right now that if you're not fearful, if you're remaining calm, if you're looking at all the blessings that you have already in gratitude, you can be able to start to take an opportunity, take advantage of the opportunities to embrace the change and change for the better. Criticism. Every Not everybody. A lot of people do not move or do make the moves that they need to make because they are afraid of what somebody else is going to say about them. But I say this: everybody started somewhere, and even nobody started off perfect. And criticism, especially if you have some good people around you, the criticism that you get can sometimes be the best coaching that you'll ever get. Jice and I, thank God for her because we are able to present a product, do act on the things that we need to, and then receive valuable feedback and criticism from one another, which only helps us become better. Now, there's going to be people out there who have something to say about what you're doing, and their opinions really don't matter. At the end of the day, if you're not making you happy, if they're not making you rich, and if they're not putting something over your head, then when I say over your head, meaning a roof, then their criticism really doesn't matter. And that falls right in line with what other people think about you. You're not going to please everybody all of the time. And you have to be very careful about performing for the audience instead of performing for your own satisfaction, because at the end of the day, you're the only one who knows what your intent is and how much effort you're putting into what you're doing. So it really, again, what other people's opinions of you and what you're doing matter very little. Challenges, I could go on and on into the challenges, but most people are scared of having to exert anything more than the minimum amount of effort, asking for help. I can't tell you how many people I've seen struggle needlessly, especially in starting a business or starting on a new challenging project because they are afraid of asking for help. Because they're going back to number 4, what other people think of them or somebody's criticism. Again, you don't ask everybody for help. You ask somebody who has successfully done what you are looking to do and ask them for help, ask them for advice. Because if that person has already done what you're trying to do, most likely they have faced the challenges, they face the struggles, they know what you're facing, and they want you to succeed as well. And then the very last one is failure. Everybody fears failure. But if, and I almost hated even putting this on the list in the terms of failure. I wanted to actually list it as learning lessons. Most people fear learning lessons because that's what failure is. It's an opportunity to learn how you can do something better. What did you do wrong? How can you
Not quite sure. Just have to so you know, almost you know, so that's really yeah. Um, and I have nothing for you guys, but I'm just grateful that we stuff.
I don't know what
Hey,
happened.
well, I don't know what happened either, but that's okay. You're back. It happens. So let me know. Just go ahead and share your screen back out again. There you go. Give me 1 second. Bam. You was in the middle of failure, which is apt for this particular moment.
Right.
So how you just, gotta keep it rolling, right? So it happens. So I'm gonna let you take back over there with your failure. I was like, oh guys, I don't know what we're doing. But let me pull myself back out and keep right on going.
All right. Hey guys, I don't know what happened there, but again, failure. Sometimes, not sometimes, you are going to fail. It is an absolute truth of life. Failure is going to occur, but it's not about the failure itself. It's about the lesson learned. I now have learned not to click on log in. How about that, Jice? I just figured out what I did wrong. So in the middle of a live stream, you don't hit that button. So the next piece is when we're sitting in the middle of chaos and confusion in life, we're going to be grateful. We're going to stay calm. We're going to identify our fears. And then we need to identify where it is that we want to be. So if we know that we're here, but we want to be here, that is literally called setting a goal. And you need to be, I struggle with this, and Jice and I have had conversations about this sometimes. You have to set short-term, not small goals, short-term goals. Goals that say, right now you may be struggling with trying to figure out how you're going to pay next month's rent, or you may be struggling on what to do with daycare once school is out, or you have to go back to work. These are all essentially immediate issues that need your attention, right? You can't necessarily focus on starting that business right now. You can't necessarily focus on going back to school. You can't necessarily focus on anything that has a magnitude of needs a magnitude of focus and attention. However, it's still very important to set those very big, lofty goals. It's very important. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a situation when the next crisis happens that you're only managing life from one crisis to the next, and not necessarily setting yourself up for long-term sustained success. So it's very important to set those short-term goals. All right, so I know I need X amount of money by X amount or by such and such date. That becomes the goal. That becomes a very specific, measurable, attainable, time-specific, or realistic time-specific goal, right? And it comes down to figuring out what you need to do. What are the individual steps of figuring out what you need to do between now and then? I could go on and on and on into detail about looking at those steps, but we only got about, I would say about another 20 minutes or so, and I want to make sure that you get the broad strokes of what needs to happen in this space. So looking at setting both short-term and long-term goals, I would suggest that you set goals in these 4 categories: in your health, finances, career, and family and relationships. I say those 4 because, again, they kind of cover the broad strokes of a 360-degree view of life. Your health, finances, career, and your family and relationships are all the things that you probably are going to spend most of your time focusing on at some point in one single day. The other piece of this is when you look at these 4 pieces and set an individual both long-term and short-term goal in these 4 categories, you can take a look from the larger view and see how those goals intersect. And once you figure out how those goals intersect, then that becomes your one big focused goal. So let's say, for example, health, because it's at the top of the list. And again, this isn't necessarily any specific order. It's just how I put them up there on the slide. Let's say that health was your number 1 goal and you want to lose 20 pounds, right? How can losing 20 pounds affect your finances? Well, if you're looking at losing 20 pounds and you're looking at, well, it's because I eat out X amount of days a week, and that's costing me X amount of dollars. If I cut that down, I'm not only cutting down calories, I'm also cutting down the spend that I put out on fast food or restaurants or whatever. Career. How can your career affect your health goals? Well, understand that health isn't necessarily just your physical health, but it's also your emotional, spiritual, and mental health. So, if a job is really stressing you out, or even, you're leaving for, anyway, I won't go too deeply into it, but just finish the thought. If you're thinking, if you're not bringing your lunch to work, and you're taking time off of out of your day to actually leave to go to lunch, what if you start bringing your lunch to work and reading about something within your career, within the industry that you work in, that can make you a better employee, or even better yet, a person who could be on the rise to start to get that promotion. And then, you can tie that back into your relationships and family, by even looking at, if you're getting healthier, you might have more money to focus on your family. You might have more time to focus on your family. There's a lot of things where those things can intersect. So next, I want to go very quickly into identifying your why. And once you understand your why, and in this case, because the subject is about how to thrive and know what your best next move is in a time of confusion and chaos. Identifying your why in this case is to be, first off, to get out of the confusion and chaos. And the second piece is to be able to stay out of confusion and chaos. So very quickly, there are, the why typically is the thing that keeps you motivated once you set that goal. And the why is the thing that keeps you motivated to do the things that you need to do in order to achieve that goal. Just very quickly, if you want to look at this slide, anytime that you're setting a goal, and again, you might be setting goals for your health, finances, career, and your family relationships, but you want to make sure that the goals are checking these boxes. You want to make sure that they're spiritually meaningful, intellectually stimulating, emotionally energizing, physically challenging, and financially rewarding. I'll go back to the example that I said, just about a month and a half ago, I started a podcast, right? Most people would say, well, how is that spiritually meaningful? I can tell you it's spiritually meaningful for me because this is something that I've been wanting to do pretty much my entire life, to be on some type of radio talk show, have my own platform, so to speak. And so when I started this podcast, it wasn't just like another project. It wasn't just like me learning another skill. This was something that I feel personally fulfilled with on a deeper level. Intellectually stimulating. It still is, because I'm learning all these different technologies. I'm learning all the new processes. I'm learning so many things about how to be successful in creating a podcast and everything that goes around marketing it. And so I'm always learning. My mind is always stimulated, emotionally energizing. I get excited about doing something that I love to do. It's not just a job. It's not just well, it is a hobby, but it's not something that's a burden to me. It's something that I can get excited about. Physically challenging, a podcast, I'm not going to lie, it's not physically challenging in the sense I don't have to do anything really physical to make it happen. I am putting in a lot of waking hours trying to make it successful. Not trying, but working at making it successful. So in that case, and financially rewarding. No, I'm not making a whole lot of money on this podcast yet, but if I keep working on it and keep pursuing my vision the way that I need to in order to get to where I want it to be, it definitely will be something that will eventually be financially rewarding. So that's what I mean by how you're setting your goals and why you're setting your goals and how you keep yourself motivated. Very quickly, when you're setting your goals, you want to make sure that I would say that they meet at least 5 of these 8 things. And any goal that you set, it should help you be happy. If you're setting a goal that doesn't help you be happy, then why the hell are you setting that goal? right? It should help you have good relationships with your family. Any goal that you're setting, it should help you be healthier, right? And if it's not, then it's probably not a very good goal to set. It's probably a toxic behavior, to be honest. Be reasonably prosperous. And I say reasonably because not every endeavor that you set, not every goal that you set is necessarily financially based, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a money suck either. It doesn't have to be a black hole of money that you're just throwing down the drain. And it should have some type of return on the investment. Whether even if you're breaking even if you're just making a few dollars off of whatever that this goal is, it shouldn't cost you too much because again, if it's not bringing you some type of prosperity, it's not improving your relationships, it's not making you happy, then again, it's probably not a very good goal. I'm not going to go over the rest of these, but I will, just so you know, I will make the slideshow available. We'll probably make it available on the BBI page. Jice, do you think that's feasible? We make this available? You can just answer me in the chat. All right, so next, this is a exercise that I advocate for. I call it Ivy League goals, IVE. So anytime you're setting your goal, and especially in times like this, like I said, when this time of confusion and chaos, again, you're being inundated with a lot of negative energy, a lot of negative information, things that are trying to program you to live in this state of fear. And, you know, I'll be I'll even break away from even the coronavirus and COVID talk, just even with the talk that's going on around race relations and the status of what's going on across the country and that. We have to be very careful about the information and the energy that we're receiving. And so one of the ways to do that, again, is, you know, being grateful for what we have and what even the challenges, remaining calm, identifying your fears in that space, and then setting big goals and small goals, and then really setting those goals as if no limits exist. Because I'm going to go back to the very first slide or second slide where, again, you have the right and the ability to change your current circumstances and conditions. So what would that look like if you didn't have any of the barriers that are currently holding you back? What would your dream life look like? Not even look like. What is the goal that you would set for yourself? What life is your goal? Right? And then I want you to really visualize what that looks like. And when I say visualize it, I want you to go into this exercise and actually close your eyes and think about what does your ideal life look like from the moment you go to sleep or moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. What are you doing? What are you driving? What kind of house do you live in? What kind of job do you have, or career or business? How successful are your kids? What's your bank account look like? I want you to picture going to the ATM, put in your debit card, and checking the balance and seeing whatever your dream number is, right? I want you to visualize that and get that picture in your head so that you know what it looks like and you can start to map your way towards that destination. Then lastly, doing the same thing with your emotions. When doing that same exercise of putting your ATM card into the machine, putting in your PIN number, hitting check balance, looking at the screen, and seeing that dream number there, what does that feel like? What does it feel like to be financially secure, right? And once you identify and recognize that feeling of peace, probably, and again, this doesn't have to be about finance. Just understand, like, if you achieve your goals, what feelings would you be pursuing? Probably feelings of happiness, feelings of peace, feelings of security, feelings of love. I want you to match those feelings up with whatever goal you're setting for yourself. Because once you start to pair those emotions with the goal, then you're going to continue to be motivated to do what you need to do in order to achieve that goal. Right? I have this picture of this young man right now with the graduation cap saying, yes, I want you, if your goal right now is to go back to school and graduate, chase the feeling that's on that boy's face right now, right? I want you to chase that like it's yours, like it's owed to you. And that's the way that you, again, keep your mindset out of the chaos and fear and on the actual reward of doing what needs to be done. Now, how do you actually get there? A person told me a long time ago, and I don't remember who it was. It's probably something I read. I'm gonna say either Zig Ziglar, Napoleon Hill, or Les Brown, one of those guys. But they said that any goal can be achieved with proper planning, and proper planning is simply identifying these three things. First thing, what obstacles must I overcome? So I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to say what obstacles. My goal is to start a podcast. Okay, I'm cheating, but it's easy for me right now. My goal is to start a podcast. What obstacles must I overcome? So I can look at all of the things that I don't have. I could look at all the things that I don't know. I could look at all the money that I don't have to invest into this and that, and say all of those things are obstacles, right? But the reality of the situation is, all of those things are attainable. All of those things I can achieve. Yeah, they're all attainable. The main obstacles that I'm going to face, the main obstacles that you're going to face. Do you remember this slide? Yep. No, look, I'm going to go to the stream right now. How many people remember this slide who are watching right now? Right? Nobody's commenting. That's okay. This slide here really lays out what your biggest obstacles are. I would say 80 to 90% of the obstacles that you face are internal, and they're mostly the fears that you have that are holding you back from actually doing what you need to do in order to be successful. You fear leaving your comfort zone, you fear change, you fear criticism, you're fearing what other people think of you. The challenge and the work that's actually going to be necessary in order to be successful. You fear asking for help, and you fear failure, which are, again, they're all real fears, but they don't have to be the end all be all. They don't have to actually stop you, because all of those things are internal, which, again, I go back to, you have the right and the ability to, not necessarily, I won't even say to change your condition or circumstances. You have the right and the ability to overcome all of these obstacles. Same thing I'm saying, I'm just phrasing it in a different way. How do you do that? You do it by developing the skills, habits, and knowledge that you need to overcome those obstacles. And I'm going to tell you, 95% of the time, I'm making up a number, it's a really large number. You could do a lot of this for free. We have this wonderful thing, it's usually a wonderful thing called the internet, where you can look up and learn about almost anything that you want to know. You can learn how to start a podcast. What if one of your biggest obstacles is your comfort zone? And in that comfort zone, you have become very accustomed to sleeping, staying up until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then waking up at 6 o'clock because you have to go to work or whatever that is. What if you're staying up that late, but you're actually reading about how to start a podcast? Or even better, what if you're only staying up until, say, 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and you're actually going to bed and getting that extra sleep so you can get up earlier in the morning to do what you need to do in order to advance whatever your goals are, right? There's so many things that you can do to pick up the skills, habits, and that knowledge set that you need in order to be successful. And I want to go back for just a second, talking about those fears. So you might remember way back when we first talked about the fears. Let's use that scenario I talked about like a scary movie. Now imagine you're that character in the scary movie, right? And you're walking into a room, a dark room, and you don't know what's in there, right? you have every right in the world to be scared because there may be something dangerous in the room. There may be something that will harm you. There may be something that is unfamiliar. There may be something bad. Whatever it is you don't know what's in that room. But then you turn on the light and you flip the light switch and you see that it's a perfectly safe place. Or even if it's not a perfectly safe place, you see where the challenges and the danger is in that room. Picking up the skills, habits, and knowledge that you need to overcome your obstacles is the same thing as turning on the light. When you pick up that book, you read that article, you re-enroll in school, you talk to somebody who's knowledgeable about something, you start to develop the habits that you need to overcome some of the things that are challenging you. It's like picking up the light, flipping the light switch, and being able to navigate and see where your challenges are, what you're looking at, and what the danger that may or may not even be there. I think it was Will Smith that said, fear is nothing but your imagination about the worst case scenario. Doesn't mean that danger doesn't exist, but fear does not. Fear does not exist in a physical sense. Next piece, developing your weakest skill, your key skill, is going to set the ceiling on your potential success. What I mean by that is, if your biggest challenge, one of your weakest skills is money management, right? If you don't start to develop that key skill, the ceiling for success is going to remain low. Once you start to develop the skill to manage money or manage yourself or manage procrastination, whatever it is, your ceiling for your potential success goes and gets higher and higher and higher. It's just like physics. It's just like, the stronger, the larger your capacity is for the skill, the more room that's going to take up in the space that it occupies, right? So develop those skills. Again, ask yourself, what one skill, if developed, would help me overcome my internal obstacles? So again, understanding that if procrastination is one of your challenges, one of your obstacles, how can you learn the habit of being a self-starter? Jice and I, a couple months ago, we were talking with a cohort of ours in this mastermind group, and Brene Brown talks about, I think it's Brene Brown, talks about launching yourself, literally counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then doing whatever that action is. There's a whole mechanism. I'm sorry?
That's Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins, my bad. So, I mean, that is literally a very small skill, or I'm going to say, well, yeah, skill, habit, however you want to classify it. But learning that habit, when you feel yourself saying, man, I should get up to go do these push-ups, I should get up to go read, I should turn off the TV, and you feel that procrastination measure kick in, then launching yourself from the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then getting up to do it. It's a very simple skill. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it. Jice, matter of fact, if you don't mind, can you just put that in the chat so people can learn more about it the way Mel Robbins wanted to, not me. Next, I'm sorry, I just lost my space here. So asking yourself what one key skill would be, if developed properly, would help me overcome my obstacles. The next piece is, what daily habit would set me on the path towards success as a lifestyle? Now, again, I'm going to be very honest with people right now, and you might not like it, but right now, most people have more time on their hands than they can handle, because we've been in the house for probably 6 to 8 weeks now. Your routines are off, and we're developing a lot of bad habits. And I just wonder how many of us, and this is a rhetorical question, but how many of us are really being intentional about the habits that we're practicing while in this situation that can put us on a path to success not just temporary success, but success as a lifestyle, whether that's working out, whether that's learning a new skill, whether that's being intentional about reading for 20 to 30 minutes a day, whether that's practicing gratitude, just the habit of being just intentionally and deliberately and powerfully grateful for every and anything is such a beneficial habit to pick up, because you'll find your whole life will begin to shift when you're in this space of gratitude rather than in a space of self-pity, in a space of victimization, in a space of negativity, just playing around negativity. So again, I would very much encourage, and this goes back to the very first key point, and when you're in a space of confusion and chaos, pick up a habit, a daily habit. And so again, my wife has had me and my son doing push-ups and sit-ups and squats every day, well, 3 times a week, just to work on our health, right? And I'm starting to feel the benefits of it. I still hate it, but it's a habit that I'm picking up, and it's putting me on a path to success as a lifestyle rather than just something to do. Next piece. Okay, and I'm sorry, I probably didn't preface all of this right, but when we talked about proper planning, I said I want you to understand that you're just really identifying 3 things. And the first thing is, what are the obstacles? The second thing you're identifying is, what are the skills, habits, and knowledge I could obtain to help me overcome those obstacles? And the third thing you need to identify is who and what are the people and organizations which I can learn from and get the skills, habits, and knowledge I need to overcome the obstacles, right? So I'm going to use my good friend Jice and the Black Business Initiative, for example. If I'm in the mindset right now of wanting to start a business, or I have a business that I want to scale, or there's things about my business that I don't know and I need to learn, then I'm going to literally reach out to a place that I know that specializes, or a person that I know that has started a business or scaled their business or is a business consultant, and they can tell me what it is. Just so happens I know a person named Jice Johnson who runs a company called the Black Business Initiative that specializes in helping people start and scale their businesses. It would be completely stupid and asinine of me to not reach out to that person, even if I had to pay for the services and the specialties and the expertise that person or that organization provides. Now, you may say, but I don't have any money right now. Okay, that's not an obstacle. The fact that you don't know how to save money up and be patient over the, say, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months that it takes to save up the money to pay for those services and pay for that knowledge, pay for that expertise, that's your obstacle. So the habit that you want to probably work on is saving money and money management. Oh, I don't know how to do that. Guess what? There's a company called Operation Hope that literally, that's all they do is help people, particularly people of color, help them learn the financial literacy skills they need to better manage their money. Once you manage that money, now you can go to that expert in business, starting a business. Once you started with them, now you're on a path towards success as a lifestyle. So it's like, again, understand that lack of money, lack of time, lack of whatever that may be, those are bullshit reasons. Excuse me, I didn't mean to cuss. But it's the internal obstacle. I'll just say, I mean, you met me too. I was doing really, really good. But those are the things that help you be successful. So identifying your obstacles, most of them are internal, identifying the skills, habits, and knowledge that you need to overcome those obstacles, and connecting with the people and organizations that will help you get those skills, habits, and knowledge to overcome the obstacles. That is the formula for success. Period, point blank. I'm not even going to stay on the slide much more. If you don't know anybody. Let's pretend that you don't know Jice. You don't know how to access somebody who knows how to start a business or whatever your goal may be. I recommend going to your library. Going to, even if you don't go physically into the library, there's an app called Overdrive where you can access pretty much any library in the world and find books about how to be successful in whatever your craft is, whatever your goal is. This is one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. I love both versions, but of course, this is Kimbrough. He wrote this from a Black perspective, has some great stories in it that help personalize the lessons and some of the challenges that people have gone through in order to be successful. Oh, all right. So, how am I doing on time, Jice?
We're okay. It's 3:00, but we're good.
Okay. So to boil most of this down, and if there's any slide in here that I want you to pay attention to, this would be it. 7 key skills that I think that you should give time to, give focus to, give emotion to, are these 7 key skills, because these are the ones that are going to help you really figure out what the next best move is in a time of confusion and chaos. The ability to remain calm, the ability to be intentionally, powerfully, deliberately grateful for any and everything, that every circumstances that you are find in your life. Again, even the negative ones. If you can find a way to be intentionally and powerfully grateful for some of the challenges and some of the negative things in your life because of the lessons they bring or whatever, it's a skill that's going to serve you well. The skill of critical thinking, understanding why you think and feel a way about a certain thing, is an incredibly powerful skill. And understanding, and this goes from asking yourself, why do I think that? Why do I feel that? To what is the reason that a person is telling me this? Be able to critically think and examine everything that you think about and that you ingest and that you also give out. It's a powerful skill. The skill of self-evaluation. Sometimes, Jice, can I do it? Sometimes you fuck up, right? But that's not the end of the road, right? And it's important that you're able to self-evaluate what role you played in your mistake and your failure, or even in just your successes, right? It's critical that you understand and be able to evaluate those things rather than criticize yourself, especially when you fall short of the goal, especially when things don't work out the way that you would like for them to have. Maybe some things aren't your fault. That's okay. But maybe they're entirely your fault. Again, that's okay. It's important to learn the lesson from that failure and be able to evaluate your performance and what you could have done differently or done better in order to get to that next level. Discipline. So I love Jice for this, for if no other reason that she taught me that discipline is not necessarily a negative thing. Discipline can be, no, not even can be. Discipline is great when it's viewed from the perspective of self-care. Because remember, again, the goal is not necessarily starting that business. The goal is not necessarily buying that house. The goal is not necessarily having a huge bank account. The goal is actually the emotion that those successes bring. So that goal of feeling financially secure, the goal of actually having a service or business that serves other, and you have the independence, the goal of having actually completed and become an expert in a subject matter and now becoming more valuable and be able to share information. Those are the true goals. It's not the actual process of doing whatever it is the emotional goal. And when you're disciplined, you are basically serving yourself in order to get to that end result. When you're undisciplined, you're only hurting yourself. You're only hurting yourself. So if you start to view discipline as a form of self-care and giving yourself what you know you deserve, and in doing what you need to do to earn what you deserve, earn your dream, basically. Discipline is a great skill, again, to have. Emotional intelligence. And what I mean by emotional intelligence, there's a wide range of emotional intelligence all over the world. But what I mean by this very specifically in this presentation, and if you know me, you know that I want to say, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Nobody cares, right? Feeling sorry for yourself serves you no purpose. Most of us, many of us are addicted to feeling sorry for ourselves. That's why we're always offended. That's why we always get into, continually get into these pointless, meaningless battles on social media and arguments because we're offended and we have to prove that we're right. And if someone doesn't agree with us, then they've hurt our feelings and nobody gives a damn. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Do what you need to do in order to make yourself feel better. Period, point blank, full stop. The last skill that you need to truly fully develop is being flexible. And I didn't realize how important, how much flexibility was really a skill. And I would say flexibility / being nimble. Understanding that things won't necessarily always work out according to plan. Things won't always work out the way that you imagine them to work out or the outcome to be. I'll give you a perfect example. Almost a year ago, I was working in a role where I was working for a politician. We lost the election. I no longer was in the job. I no longer had a job, was no longer employed. I had been promised by multiple people that they were going to put me in a position and I wouldn't have to worry about employment. And so I thought, I took that at face value and thought that I was going to be, quote unquote, taken care of. I'll be in a good spot. Turns out that didn't happen. Those people didn't keep their word. And it didn't work out the way that I anticipated it, right? Now, going back to my previous point, I could have sat there and felt sorry for myself and sat and stewed in that whole situation and just had nothing but anger and resentment and anxiety about what I was going to do next. And again, having anxiety, having anger, being scared, those are all perfectly normal reactions. Though that's part of the human condition. Those things have kept us alive for hundreds of thousands of years. So it's not to say that they're wrong, but to sit there and stew in them and get stuck there, that's the part where it becomes a big problem. And so when you start to move past that, when you start to be grateful for the opportunities, I started to be grateful for everybody who did support me and all the things that I did have in place. I was able to remain calm about my situation and began to critically think about what is the next move. Well, I started to put things in place, started approaching people to set up contracts to do this, that, and the third, and consulting, and everything was lined up to move me to that next level. And then this thing called coronavirus hit the U.S., and every single one of my contracts got canceled or suspended. Again, I could have fell back in that place of fear, anger, just anxiety, all of that. But I was just flexible with it. And I started looking at, well, how can I apply the skills that I have towards places in situations that I know would benefit from what I know and what I can do for them. And, you know, I won't lie, I'm not making a whole lot of money off of anything I'm doing right now, but I'm making a little bit of money off of multiple things I'm doing. And so I'm okay. I'm not great, but I'm okay. And that's just because I learned how to be flexible with life. So I'm almost done here. I just wanted to show you something very quickly. You see this on the slide. that big black dot right there, that's everything that you know, right? Everything that you know. And this, what I'm doing is explaining to you why it's important to be flexible, because there's so many things in the world that you're not necessarily aware of, but you know a whole lot. You know a whole lot, and this right here, that circle around the dot, is everything that you know that you don't know. And I think we all know that we don't know everything, right? So the black dot is everything that you know. And we know that we don't know a whole lot, right? And if you look up here in the top right-hand corner, you see that little dot? That's everything that you know. And again, that circle is everything that you know that you don't know. Anybody want to guess what the black space is? Anybody? Well, I'll tell you. That black space is everything that you don't even know that you don't know. There is so much shit out here that we're not even aware of. Nobody even knew not to know about a virus that was going to essentially shut the entire world down, say 3 months ago, right? I don't want to say nobody, there are people who knew, but most of us, we weren't even aware that we weren't aware that some shit like this could happen, right? And I say all that to say, it's okay not to know, and it's okay to not even know that you don't know. But in order to be successful, one of the best skills you can have is to know how to deal with what you don't know, and know that it's more important than anything you know, because the world is so much more surprising than you can really be sure of, right? So it's not necessarily knowing how to move in a space and being confident about your skills of, oh, I can really do this. I'm the best. If you work for the airline industry, I'm great at my job, and there's no way that anybody can be better at my job than I am. And then, damn, look at here, the airline industry shut down, right? So it's better to be able to know how to be flexible in that space and move through things that you don't know than to be even confident about the things that you do know. One of the most important skills to develop are the things that are self-sufficient and maintain flexibility. And again, the things that are self-sufficient are these skills right here: being able to remain calm, intentionally being intentionally powerfully grateful, critical thinking. These are the skills of a self-sufficient person. You don't need money to develop any of these skills. You don't need anyone else to help you develop these skills. Remaining calm, gratitude, critical thinking, self-evaluation, discipline, emotional intelligence, and flexibility. So I say all of that to say, this is right now maybe a very confusing and chaotic place to be. It's a very confusing, chaotic time. But if you start to develop those 7 skills, then you literally will be better than the average person. Because the average person right now is freaking the hell out, and they're making probably some pretty poor moves and decisions because they haven't even evaluated where the next move is. I thank you for your time. I'm leaving here with this is my contact information. Again, I'll make this presentation available for anyone who wants it. I'll share that with Jice, and I thank you for your time. I'm gonna hop back into the chat if anybody has any questions. Jice, you could, I don't know what you want to do. Leave me in chat how you want to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't see any questions that popped up in the chat, and I've been kind of monitoring. We have a few watch parties out, so it's difficult to keep track of watch party comments. But I didn't see any specific questions, so I'll give people a chance to ask any as I'm monitoring what that looks like. But I want to spend a moment and just thank you, Jonathan, because oftentimes people are looking for the right now answer, the right now key, and I think that's something that's important for us to note and to think about, because I say this all the time, like we can't always be focused on the right here and the right now. And it's difficult when right here and right now is hurting, right? And you're thinking about how am I going to, take care of myself? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to take, feed my family? You might even have been thinking about, the plans that you've been making and the strides that you've been taking, and all of a sudden, life happens. And right now, associated with coronavirus, but the reality of it is that life happens in all cases. You could be planning something and all of a sudden you have, there's an accident, right? There's a sister who her strength is something that I greatly, greatly admire. And she shared a story, so I'm pretty sure she wouldn't care if I mentioned her name, but I'll leave it out for now. But what I will say is, she was in the middle of a doctorate program. She was literally with the love of her life. She was, they had a small child at the time, and everything is just normal, right? Normal, easygoing. They're making moves, and he's sitting at a stop sign with a friend, and there's a vehicle that runs into them 80 miles an hour, kills him on the spot. Literally, life happens, right? And so the ability to be able to pivot when necessary, or the ability to be able to keep going, right? And in her case, she kept going. She was able to graduate with her doctorate, and she was able to make some amazing strides and some amazing moves in terms of building a business and getting into her dream job, and really raising an amazing daughter. It's been about 4 years now, and just seeing her continue to grow and flourish has been amazing for me to watch her journey, right? But I say that to say that right now we're seeing something like COVID-19, and we're seeing how this affects everyone on this bigger scale and on this bigger level. But the things that you talked about today are those skills that are necessary, because you never know when there's going to be a chaotic moment that's going to hit your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be something of this capacity. It could be something that just happens to you personally, and everyone else's life is still moving. Everyone else's life is still going. And those skill sets are really important for us to figure out not only how to heal, but also how to move forward, and in what direction we should move forward, and being able to think, from a clear perspective. And so, yeah, Soulful Shay says that it's, oh, my bad. There we go. Soulful Shay said it's hard to transition from survival to thriving. You have to be patient with the process. So, I think that sometimes we don't always see, the importance of these messages, and it's sometimes hard to conceptualize until we're actually in it. And now we're in a case where most of us are actually in it. So what my goal and my hope is that, that many of you will actually take what's being said here and spend some time chewing on it and meditating on it and thinking about it, so that you can actually begin to apply it to your life. So I
want to say to Soulful Shay's point, and you're absolutely right. It's very hard to transition from survival to thriving. When you, and if I can put this in the context of Black people, right? Most of us have been raised generationally upon generationally on just surviving, right? We equate even some, when I say we, a lot of us equate the Black experience with just surviving, and to a mindset that says, again, that I have the ability and I have the right to be successful feels like a very strange place to be sometimes, right? And just very quick, give me about 3 minutes to share this story. I said very early on that, I went to prison at 25. And the reason that I went to prison at 25 was because the majority of my adolescence and early adulthood was telling me that that's probably where I was going to be, because I was young, I was Black, and I was a man. And so much of me was just in survival mode that I was doing things that were essentially reckless. And I ended up going to prison. And I can tell more about this story one day. But within about 3 months of me actually going to prison, I got really, 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 really sick, and ended up getting pneumonia, and was rushed out of the prison in the back of an ambulance. And I was taken to the state hospital, and I was there for about 2 weeks with pneumonia. And then once they released me from the hospital, they took me back to the main prison in the infirmary that was there. And the infirmary, most people, when they think of an infirmary, they think of a quality medical facility, right? In prison, the infirmary is essentially a hospice. And so here I was with my 25-year-old self, surrounded by people who were dying, whether they were dying from cancer, they were dying because they were critically injured, they were dying because they had something go wrong while they were in their prison sentence. They were all in there dying. And you were surrounded by, not by friends and family, but by prison guards who didn't give a damn when you died. They just, only thing they cared about was at the end of their shift, right? And that for me was probably the best moment in my life, because I got with absolute clarity to visualize what the end of my life looked like if I didn't start changing from survival mode into a mindset that says, I'm better than this. I can achieve more than this. I can basically achieve whatever I want because I've achieved everything I've focused on up to this point. And so you're right, Shay. It's very difficult to shift from survival to thriving mode, but it's absolutely possible because, again, success is within our ability, and it's absolutely our right to be successful no matter what anybody tells us. So, Sarah.
Absolutely. So, thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate you coming on. You all will see quite a bit more of Jonathan as he's working on our programs with BBI. I do, again, just want to remind everyone to register for the Black Capital event coming up. That is next weekend. It is May 23rd. It is virtual. As I mentioned before, we just want to give a good shout out to our sponsors. In the past, we have charged, this is a workshop that we get in depth into what it looks like to access capital, why it's important for our community and what that looks like for us. And it is really important because, oftentimes I hear certain things pop up. I'll hear things like, something I heard recently, we shouldn't have to take out a loan, for our business, right? And some of that is true. Like, don't get me wrong that a loan is the way that you have to go, but what is necessary for your business is capital. It is important to know why the Black community does not have access to the capital that we need in order to build thriving and sustainable businesses. It is important for us to understand what barriers have been placed in our way. It is important for us to understand how the system works and how, even though it is written in a very race neutral language, how it still affects us disproportionately. And then most importantly, it's important for us to know how to overcome those things. So those are some of the pieces that we're going to be going over. I think right now, as we are looking at this pandemic and what's happened from a economic perspective, having a stronger grasp on capital in the Black community could not be more important. So I want to go ahead and make sure that to please check that out. You can register for free, thanks to Trailhead Institute, thanks to First Bank, and also thanks to Metro Deep. So those are the sponsors that have made sure that we are able to produce this and bring it on at no cost to you. So with that, I don't think I have much else. Jonathan, if you don't have anything else, then we will close this out. And the next Black Dollar Saturday is going to be in June. I will give you the exact date. It is going to be June the 20th. So again, June 20th, that is our next Black Dollar Saturday. That is the third Saturday in June. You got anything else for us, Jonathan, before we go?
No, Soulful Shay had a couple of questions. I just want to let her know that she can get my contact information from the information that you're sharing out, and I'd be happy to correspond with her, whether that's on Facebook, IG, Twitter. I'm out here. We're out here. We are here for you to answer your questions.
And I think and I'll just throw this out here for those of you who are on Facebook and don't see the comments happening over on YouTube, which I would also remind you to subscribe at YouTube. You can subscribe to it before we have additional comments. Additional content. But Soulful Shay, she did ask, how do you navigate through pain and loneliness? And I'll just throw this on the screen. How do you navigate pain and loneliness when your bank account is growing and your circle is much smaller? And I will say, definitely reach out to Jonathan. You can reach out to myself as well. Nose and Glitter offered some advice there. because I think it's important for us to recognize what it looks like inside of our communities as we continue to see places and spaces of success and what that often means. And, you know, we've all heard of the age-old crab in the bucket type of mentality. I don't believe that that's our natural mentality, but I do believe in propaganda that has pushed us in that direction. So feel free to reach out to Jonathan, feel free to reach out to myself, and we can definitely, you know, talk to you about some of those issues maybe that you're facing. Jonathan, if you don't have anything else for us, we're going to go ahead and close this out. I just want to thank everybody for joining us here live, and we'll see you next Black Dollar Saturday.
Peace out. Thanks for coming out.